Hello everyone, my name is Rosin, and welcome back to Newtype Netplay. This is the series where I take a look at my match footage of the video game Mobile Suit Gundam Extreme vs. Maxi-Bustan, and just chronicle my personal development as a player of this game. This footage is once again taken from that open beta that happened last summer, and I have to say, it's feeling good to say last summer, because we're starting to move into summer 2021 at a pretty fast clip here as the weather gets nicer, and, it's just nice to get outside a little bit more and enjoy nature's beauty and its warmth, and I'm already starting to sound a little bit like our buddy Shar Aznable here, so why don't I move along here to talking a little bit about the Sazabi, which is a suit that you've already seen me play in earlier episodes of the series, naturally. The Sazabi was definitely something I was like, ooh, I want to play that, see how that plays like in this game early on. And it's a pretty fun suit to play, but I decided to spend a little bit more time just trying to learn the ropes of it and get a little bit more comfortable with it here, so I dedicated a fair chunk of time, which you're going to see this episode, the fruits of that labor. It was a little silly there. I tried to charge in on that HFX, and then the transformation made it invulnerable, but fortunately Mark was able to... oh, actually, no, I don't even think Mark did that. I think the Build Strike accidentally did a team kill there with the backpack explosion. Yikes. Gotta watch for that. But yeah, the Sazabi is just a cool suit. I really like how it plays in this game. Not my favorite 3K by any means, but it's definitely up there for me. If you had to split every 3K unit in this game to suits I like to play and suits I don't like to play, I definitely like to play the Sazabi. It's a good time. There's just some others that I feel like are a little bit more fun for me personally that we'll get into as we explore more of the selection of suits in future episodes of the series. But, how can you not love the Sazabi? I feel like every Gundam fan... has some affection for the Sazabi. I don't know if I've ever talked to a pretty, in the trenches Gundam fan that's like, fuck the Sazabi, or the Sazabi's kind of mid. But I don't know. Maybe you are that person watching this, and feel free to leave a comment below. I'm kind of curious about these things. And it's not, I don't want to make fun of you. I just want to know, are there people out there that are like, not really feeling the Sazabi? Because it feels like a definite fan favorite, It definitely seems like a suit that a lot of people have as one of their top mobile suits. And I'm definitely up there, too. I can't wait to build any Gunpla version of this. I have both the real grade in my backlog, as well as the master grade Verka titanium finish special edition thing, which is kind of hard to get a hold of, but I was able to snag one when they did that online Gunpla Expo. I believe it was last fall or something like that. And I actually recently just ordered a new Gundam Verka titanium finish because somehow USA Gundam Store managed to get a few in stock, and they went out of sale pretty fast, but I was one of the lucky few who managed to get my order in right away, so that's also in my backlog now, and I'm just saving those kits for a special occasion. But yeah, enough about Gunpla. Some of you probably are like, Rosin, talk about the video game, so let me talk about the video game. The Sazabi is very good at, as you could see, dropping Axis. You see the super, that's its super attack. And unfortunately, I think Mark ratted to the super there and died, but I was able to get a good chunk of Burning Gundam's health down with that super and then clean out the round there, which was nice at least. Sorry about dropping Axis on you, Mark. Sometimes these casualties are necessary to win, to create the future we want, as Shar's Counterattack Shar would probably justify his actions. Oh, man. But the Sazabi in this game is a very fun suit. It honestly kind of does remind me it reminds me of a Gundam in a few different ways, because I do think it has kind of the all-around style gameplay that a lot of other Gundam-like units do, but it's definitely a little bit more focused than some other suits are. It's a very interesting suit because it excels at a few different areas. Its melee damage is pretty sick, as you can see here. On top of that, you have... God, everything I want to talk about is just happening in the footage. You can summon out the funnels there. And the funnels aren't the most powerful. There are definitely other suits that have better funnels than the Sazabi, but what it does is it's great at doing what funnels do in this game, which is controlling the enemy's movement. You're going to chip away at their health if they do nothing about the funnels and just allow themselves to get hit by it. They're going to get interrupted, and as you can see here, you can kind of just stun them with the funnel fire if they're not dodging good enough, or you kind of hit them unexpectedly, you're from a weird angle. Melee damage, just fantastic. I think I covered that already. You have a Garobi, which I probably should have been a little bit more patient for. That was just kind of bad play all around. I really should have held off on that Garobi, and then I tried to go for a Hail Mary kick to finish up the Talgies there, but I ended up dying for it, unfortunately. But at least Mark was able to get that explosion or whatever that was off, and I was able to kind of snipe the kill there, which I probably should have let Mark just have that one. That was kind of a dick move of me. But, you know, as I've established, I have a really nasty habit of firing in this game when I shouldn't be. And that's something I'm still working on, but it definitely gets better as you watch the series. Don't worry. I kind of learned to be a little less trigger-happy when enemies are being stunned by partner hits. So yeah, the Sazabi, in addition to just being good at close quarters combat, is also just good at area control, or like movement control, I find, between the funnels, as well as the charge move it has, which I don't know how much we're going to see of it here, because I kind of, you know, again, I'm kind of bad at remembering I have charge moves sometimes, especially early on here. But I know I've pointed it out, and I've used it earlier in this series before. But basically what it does is it summons a whole field of missiles that just blows up a good portion of the map. And it doesn't do as much damage as the Axis Drop Super does, which also kind of does a similar thing, but it definitely covers a lot more ground. My partner and I Mark and I were kind of going a little melee happy there, and taking each other out and kind of self-sabotaging, but it's okay. We're doing pretty good so far. Dropped Axis. Died for it, but that's okay. I think I caught that shine into that. Yeah, that was good. That Garobi is also pretty strong. It's a solid Garobi. From what I remember, it's not the best Garobi, especially amongst other 3K suits. But, you know, it's pretty good at what it does. The assists here, actually, too, are also very good at annoying the enemy, especially if you're trying to get in on them for melee, or if they're trying to go in on you. It kind of does a good job at being kind of self-defense, which actually I think you're about to see here if I'm remembering this match correctly. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Though actually, that might have been the funnels, but either way, the Sazabi is pretty good at self-defense, I find, because when enemies go in on you, if you have funnels that are active and start firing, or an assist that's out, that especially the Yune version of the assist, they'll do a pretty good job of attacking the attacker, and even if you're getting hit, they'll knock the enemy out of, you know, you can kind of self-cut in a very interesting way. Some suits are better at that than others in this game. It's very interesting, but yeah, as you can see there, I had the funnel summoned and the Gyune assist summoned, and they both just attacked the burning when it was trying to get the combo on me, and we won the match because that burning failed to consider that, so that was pretty cool. The Yagadoga's assists are pretty cool. They both have the same kind of countdown, as you can see in the very bottom right there of the ammo count. So one version of it summons Quest's Yagadoga, who just has the beam, or not the beam Gatling bun, what the fuck am I talking about? Gatling gun. And just, she fires out a stream of bullets that's pretty good at, again, just kind of putting down some suppressive fire on the enemy. You also have Gyunes, and unfortunately, I supered basically everyone there, and I got a little too close to the explosion for comfort, but, you know, I did pretty good damage there. Sorry, Mark, for accidentally hitting you there, though, unfortunately, too. But yeah, Gyune, like, fires a few, like, funnels or missiles or something, and then he goes in for, like, a melee charge, and his homing on his assist is very, very good. So yeah, the Sazabi has a lot of very good strong qualities that make it just a lot of fun to play in different ways. Am I going to go for the Axis drop again? Let's see if I go for it. Oh, maybe not. Oh geez, I'm getting fucked up though too. And this is when I should have backed off. I decided to try to close out the round there, and thankfully my blow landed before the enemy was able to connect their blow, because as you can see there, that shot definitely, I believe, would have killed me just right out, but luckily my shot registered first, so I got pretty lucky there. Overall, pretty solid round, very close round. Those are some of the most fun, though, a lot of the times, you know, when you're on the edge of your seat, and it's like, oh god, it's just whoever lands the next blow, you know. Very fun to fight matches like that, and come out on top. But yeah, the Sazabi, just overall, a good time in this game. Just look at that damage. It's just fun. I also just love the how both the Sazabi and the Nightingale, the melee combos, just kind of like, a lot of the times they'll like smash down the enemy and they'll kind of ground bounce. It looks really cool, and it just feels very powerful. Again, that was a bad Garobi. I'm gonna eat shit for that. sometimes you just have bad reads. It happens. That was a very good idea on the Burning's part to use that kind of illusion, like, double thing to kind of deal with my super, or not super, my assist there. But I was able to do the weird beam shotgun, which is the other thing that you can use the Garobi ammo for. You can either use it as the Garobi beam, or you can kind of do like a spread fire, like chest shotgun. I tend to keep it for the Garobi, but that chest shotgun, from what I know, is actually pretty good if you learn how to aim it right. Though, again, I don't exactly know how to aim things well, so I kind of held off on using. I used that fairly sparingly. Blitz Gundam wasn't being too careful about when they were comboing there, so I was able to clean out the round, fortunately. But yeah, good times, good times. Char's Counterattack is just a, you know, very interesting movie, very good movie. It's a movie that I didn't, you know, there's a lot of Tomino Gundam stuff that I feel like I didn't exactly know what to feel about it on my first watch. I was kind of just like, oh yeah, that was an interesting but kind of strange way to do the final chapter of the original UC saga, but, you know, I've definitely grown more warm to it with time. And also, too, definitely, just as I've come to understand the Universal Century setting better, and here you go, you can see the charge move I'm doing here, and I don't know if the explosions, yeah, I think the explosions, because of the angle there, were kind of funky, so you couldn't exactly see. I think they may have gone out of the map, too, which is actually something that move can do. You can overshoot, kind of, and just cause a bunch of explosions in the background of the stage that won't ever hit anyone. I think I accidentally did that there. So fuck me, that was me being silly. And being a little gung-ho about using that when I probably should have held off until it was more appropriate. But as I was talking about, yeah, no, Char's Counterattack is a movie that I think I definitely appreciated more as I got deeper into Gundam fandom. And also, too, even, you know, a common complaint you hear from people is, like, Char's motivations in that movie are, oh, he went back to being evil. But, I don't know, the more you kind of watch Universal Century Gundam, and the closer you start to understand the political situation, and even Char as a character, I feel like it honestly makes a fair chunk of sense. The one joke I like to make to people is that Gundam fans thematically think it's goofy that a guy who once was basically the de facto leader of the anti-Earth Union group wants to cause a nuclear winter and effectively cast out human life on Earth, you know. I think it definitely tracks the further you go reading Char's character, and even the political situation of the Universal Century, where I feel like Char just gets to a point where he falls into despair and he's like, I gotta do something extreme or else we're just not gonna, you know, I don't envision a future for humanity if we keep going on with the current status quo, and he's gonna do whatever it takes to change that, even though he knows it's what he knows what he's doing is wicked and horrible, but he feels like there's no other way for humanity to move forward. And even if you take a look at the stuff that Tomino wrote, even the original Hathaway's Flash novels and Gaia Gear, and even his original takes on kind of what he was doing with F91 and Victory, and even, I mean, going as forward as like Turn A and G Rucko to some extent, because that kind of ties into future UC stuff. I feel like Tomino is a lot more sympathetic to Char's viewpoint than a lot of Gundam fans give it credit for. You know, it's kind of hard to tell where Tomino's beliefs actually lie exactly with certain things, but he definitely, I definitely think that Char's Counterattack is a movie that's like, hey, the world is only going to get worse if we do nothing, and at the end of the movie, effectively, nothing is changed. And the works that take place in Tomino's version of the Universal Century that came after, you can definitely see that the future does go to hell and back like Char said it would. It's very, very interesting, and, you know, just gives you a lot to think about, which is something that I think that Gundam is just great at, is it just is very fun, giving you all of these different little things to noodle in your brain and think about. And I think that it's very interesting that we're just kind of left with this weird, uneasy feeling at the end of Char's Counterattack. Like, what would the world have, or not the world, but, you know, the whole Earth sphere, what would humanity's life or progress have looked like if Char got what he wanted? And it's just this weird uneasy tension that we have lingering throughout the rest of Gundam now, where it's like, we'll never know what would have happened or how humanity would have progressed, or what Newtypeism of the future would have looked like if Char's plans succeeded. And I think it's kind of interesting and kind of fun that they leave that ambiguous. You know, it's not, Gundam's not necessarily something that really does like alternate timeline type stuff, and I think that's, you know, I think the series is kind of better off for that. I kind of like the idea that we're just kind of left to wonder, like, what was, you know, the world did go to shit, like Char said. Was Char actually right about, you know, wanting to do the nuclear winter thing? You know, I think it's definitely an interesting take on telling a sci-fi story. And even Char's Counterattack as a movie, I feel like, does a lot of things to sow doubt about Char's vision of the future, as well as still showing why it's so appealing to so many of the different space noids. Like, there's like a chunk of that movie where, like, Amuro is spending it in his hoity-toity elite spacecraft with his girlfriend, who I don't even know how much chemistry they actually have together, aside from the fact that he thinks she's cute. Going around and doing, like, big boy, like, special forces shit or whatever, and Char's hanging out with the commoners, going from place to place in, like, subway trains and stuff, and, you know, winning over the hearts and minds of the people. There's even that bit where Bright's like, we can't ever take out the Neo-Zeon remnants, because every time we try to, like, inspect colonies, all of the people, like, have their backs and hide shit from the Earth Federation right away. But then you also have scenes too, or whatever, where I feel like scenes in the movie where, like, Yune and Quest are getting kind of you know, they're getting basically harassed by the other Neo-Zeon because they think they're freaks because they're, like, new types or cyber new types or whatever. And it kind of shows, like, oh, even amongst the space noids, there's still this weird feeling and doubt towards new types, or, like, this sense of, like, otherness there, that even if Char kind of got the space noid future that he wanted, like, who knows how that would have looked, and how society would have tried adapting or resisted the new type future that Char wanted. Very interesting stuff to think about. But yeah, I've spent God knows how much of this time talking about Char's Counterattack. It's a movie I have a lot of strong opinions about. Maybe I'll do, like, a full review of more Gundam anime stuff someday instead of talking about it here. So I have apologies for spending so much of this talking about the movie instead of the gameplay. But, you know, I feel like I covered everything I wanted to cover. I switched over here to the Nightingale, which is the Sazabi, the alternate Sazabi from Beltorchica's Children, and in my opinion, the mobile suit design I like more. Again, I've beaten this horse to death by now saying this, but favorite mobile suit design of all time, and I couldn't help but have a Sazabi episode without also playing a little bit of my boy, the Nightingale. Just a wonderful, wonderful suit. I also really like the kind of, like, assumed canon that has kind of come about now because of Super Robot Wars, and even I think the, like, SD Gundam, like, G Generation games and all that, where the Hi-Nu is the version of the new Gundam that would have been made if they had ideal circumstances and enough time, and the Nightingale is the same thing for the Sazabi. I kind of like the idea that these are the what could have been, like, superior versions that could have existed. I think that'd be kind of neat to, I don't know. I think it'd be neat to see these animated someday in some form, but like I said, Gundam doesn't like to do alternate takes on stuff so much, you know. We kind of have, like, the novelizations and stuff that Tomino's did, or even, you know, Hathaway's Flash started as an alternate timeline, like, take thing. I know I said that Gundam doesn't exactly do those a lot, but the one exception is, you know, Tomino definitely has some sort of say where he's allowed to kind of go in and be like, you know what, here's my novel, and, like, if I had my way, this is the version of the story I would have told in the anime, but people got in my way and, you know, had a different vision, and, you know, anime and, you know, TV and movie production, all that, that's a collaborative process, so I think that's only fair that Tomino's like, yeah, let's change things up because this is a team effort, and then when I have the chance to write a novel about what I would have done if I had total creative control, this is how it would have looked. That's kind of the one thing we got there. But, you know, even then, they farmed that stuff, like Hathaway's Flash, and then decided to make it into canon Gundam stuff. But to talk about this last match here, this is a very interesting match, and I think the only time I managed to pull this off. So I've said before that you can get a perfect in this game if no one dies on your team and you manage to get every kill. There's a second condition for getting a perfect, and I think this is the only time I did it. All you need to do is never take damage and kill all the enemies. I think it's the only time I managed to pull it off. Glad I was able to do it with the Nightingale. Anyways, that's enough Mobile Suit Gundam Extreme vs. Maxi Bustan. For now, have a good one.